This is all brought to you by Restream. Restream.io is a great multi-streaming platform where you can stream your conversations and your videos and your podcasts pretty much anywhere. So I'm really excited to be working with them, and I'm excited to be talking today with Dayna Del Val. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I can't believe I'm your second guest. That makes me feel really important, Marie.
You're my second live guest, so yes.
Okay.
So thank you for being my guinea pig, essentially.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it.
How do you take your coffee? And if you don't drink coffee, how do you start your morning?
I'm a prolific tea drinker, and I take my tea with milk because my husband is Irish and grew up in England. So when you have someone from the United Kingdom, you drink a lot of tea with a lot of milk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love tea. Tea for me is like my wind down drink at the end of the day. So awesome.
Yeah. I drank so much coffee when I started my job, I kind of developed an allergy to it. So that's why I don't drink it anymore. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
That's awful.
I have tea.
Well, I'm sure you're better for not drinking coffee. I'm like, I think of you as a superhero now if you don't drink coffee. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do and who you are, and what makes you an entrepreneur.
So it's very clear you live on the East Coast because I'm from the Midwest. I'm actually from Fargo, North Dakota. Yes, it is as cold as the movie and the TV show. Yes, many of us do talk like that. No, it's not as violent. I don't know anyone who's been killed in a wood chipper. So let's just get that out of the way. Everybody always wants to know. Although the woman who plays the character who does get killed in the wood chipper is from Fargo and is a friend of mine. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And if you come to Fargo and come to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the actual wood chipper is there with a bunch of winter hats. And it's like this whole kind of urban legend thing to get your picture taken with the wood chipper. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. If you've never been to North Dakota, that's the first reason to come, I guess. So you said my name correctly because my dad is from the East Coast. Nobody ever says my last name correctly. So I am Dayna Del Val. And my day job is I run an arts organization called the Arts Partnership. I represent the arts in a 3-city, 2-state area. But my entrepreneur piece is called Extraordinary because I am at the intersection of so remarkable, extraordinary, and extraordinary. So the point is I think we're all living there, and ask anybody minute by minute where they are, and they're somewhere on the continuum between feeling incredible and feeling like garbage. Yeah. And I think it's the plight of being a middle-aged woman to sort of be up and down on that. So that's kind of what I am working on, trying to really help people and myself think about exploring, pursuing passion, overcoming failure, getting up from failure, and just figuring out how do you continue on this path in the best way you possibly can. So that's kind of the big piece, probably the piece that you maybe saw from me that might be of different interest for people, is that my husband, February 1st, just celebrated his 3-year anniversary of being sober from alcohol addiction.
Wow.
And so that day we launched a 9-part, 27-segment series on his fall into addiction and our journey back to sobriety. That's probably the piece that has the most legs to take me out into the world, I'm hoping.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's huge to be, 3 years. That's a big
I'll say thank you on his behalf.
Yeah. That's amazing. So I have an arts background. I don't know if you knew this. I went to school for music, and I was a working full-time musician for 10 years before I became an entrepreneur. I'm still an artist. It's kind of like the background thing that I'm always doing. So I'm interested in what that balance is like for you as both an arts organization person, which I have been, and I know how like 24/7 full-time 365 it can be. Right.
Yep.
And starting extraordinary, plus being on this journey with your husband, and having your series and everything like that. What does a day look like to you?
So I'm an early to bed, early to rise person. So my days typically start about 5 a.m. And end about 8:30 realistically when they can, because I need a ton of sleep because I use a lot of mental energy. So I really try to use those early morning hours for my personal exploration time. That's when I do a lot of my own writing, when I do a lot of the reading, exploring of things that I feel like I need to do to figure out how to keep shipping extraordinary. So that's kind of a 5 to 8:30 sort of thing. And then my day job is sort of one of the positive perks to COVID-19 is A, I kept my job, and B, no one in my life got sick. So I've been able to have a lot more flexibility because we're all working from home.
Yeah.
And so work happens kind of all day, every day. Like you said, it's absolutely true. I could work 30 hours a day and still not accomplish all of it.
Yeah.
But I do really try to keep it, now that there are no performances in the evenings and those kinds of things. I really am trying to work kind of a regular day. And then in the evening, do the follow-up pieces or the brainstorming or whatever that I need to do to keep this side gig, this entrepreneurial thing going. So it's a lot, but I'm fortunate to be a young empty nester and to be doing some of this work with my husband. So it kind of enables us to do things together and be pushing this agenda, which is good, because I think it would be hard if he wasn't part of it at all. Then I'd sort of have to fit him into my schedule. And that feels like a weird way to be in marriage. Yeah.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you're busy every day and, doing some really rewarding work. And, I'm interested in how arts organizations are surviving right now. So it's wonderful to hear that yours is.
Well, we're not a performing organization. I think they're taking the biggest hit because they're so dependent on audience. I'm an arts administrator really in this role. So that's very different. I can push a lot of administrative activist kinds of agendas through social media, but it's much, much harder to do performing over the computer. It's being done all over the place, but there's nothing like a live performance, whether that's music or dance or theater or whatever. There is nothing like that. And when you can't have immediate audience interaction, it definitely changes the way you feel it as a performer. That's my background. So I am feeling for them.
Yeah. I was actually on Broadway when Broadway shut down.
Wow.
So watching everything kind of go dark and, people start to go home and just be really, it was a very gloomy day. So it's upsetting and people are really, really hurting right now. So,
it's terrible. I mean, the arts sector, I think, will take decades to come back, actually, because just because you open your doors doesn't mean people will necessarily come. And the margin for performing is so tight. Yeah. You really do need to sell your tickets. You can't sort of perform at 30% capacity and expect to get by. You really count on that piece. So if philanthropy and the government don't step in additionally, I think we're going to see a huge, huge shift in how many organizations are open 6 months from now.
Yeah, it's a scary time.
It is.
Really and truly is, So I commend you for what you do. So tell us a little bit about the project that you're working on with your husband. How do we learn about it? How do we kind of get into it?
So I got some great advice the other day that I've really been mulling over, and it helps answer this question. What we did was we created a 9-part series. So I'm weeks 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and he's weeks 2, 4, 6, and 8. So you hear the story from both perspectives. So every Saturday of that 9-week series, we released a written piece. And then on Tuesday, we released a video recording of it and a conversation between us. And then on Thursday, we did a live podcast every week, kind of responding to what people were writing to us and, checking in with each other. And that's how the 27 pieces came to happen over 9 weeks. But all that lives on my website, extraordinaryextraordinary.com. And if you go into Dr. Mary and me, you can find it. But it's now, of course, starting to get buried as more content is being created. So the advice that I got the other day was, this is really powerful, but you have to give it its own platform because you can't find it. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out, how to create that arm, because the goal is for us to keep probably podcasting, I think, although it's hard to know. The writing pieces got the most attention.
Yeah.
So, we've got to figure that piece out. But to keep that going, I mean, we've had some really incredible conversations in these social distance times about things that I know, if they're new to me, living with this man, would also be new and engaging to other people. Like he said to me the other day, we were out on a bike ride, and he had his keys with him. And I said, why did you bring your keys? I have mine because we need them for my bike. And he said, I bring my keys everywhere because when I was in rehab and couldn't have my keys, I didn't know if I had a home.
Wow.
And he'd never told me that before.
Wow.
And I'm so moved by it. And I know that when I'm moved by things, other people are too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got to figure out what that next step looks like. Unfortunately, tech is not my strongest area. So it's kind of daunting to think about taking on more tech evolution.
Yeah.
But I know if I want people to find it, and if I want it to have a continuing bigger life, I've got to get that figured out.
That's what a story. My gosh. I mean, I've had addiction, I've known people who were addicted, and I have family that struggles with addiction and friends that struggle with addiction. And there's so much that we don't know, and that just isn't part of the cultural language, right?
Well, I'm sorry, but so much we won't talk about.
Right.
I mean, almost nobody in my life knew that we had been through this. I mean, people I'm relatively close to learned of this addiction for the first time reading these blog posts.
Wow. Yeah.
And what I heard from people literally all across the globe was, thank you for making me not feel so alone.
Yeah.
I felt so alone going through this because I knew people who had addiction issues, but not, everybody's story feels very individual to you in the moment because it is.
Yeah.
But there are some commonalities. There are some shared pieces that I think you just do better when somebody reaches out to you and says, wow, I know what this is like, or you're okay, or it's okay to be afraid. There's a lot of fear around addiction and a lot of shame. So I think we helped start to remove some of that for some people. And that's a piece that's really important to us both to keep doing.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful because, the truth is it is a disease, it's like, if you would go to the doctor to fix your, I don't know, if you had the flu, right? Yep. So you should go to the doctor if you have an addiction.
Well, you know what else
you should get the help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing you realize is that if he'd been diagnosed with cancer, I would have put it on social media, and the immediate reaction of my large network would have been, let's start a food train. We could come do laundry. Everybody would have surrounded us. And instead, because I was so ashamed of it, and there's so many unknowns to addiction, I just went like this, and nobody knew. So nobody could help if they wanted to. Right. Because I was just sure that everybody was going to judge us.
Yeah.
And, until we realized that it's not like, if I got cancer today, I didn't invite cancer into my life. You do invite addiction into your life by taking the first drink or the first hit, or, but at some point it takes over you. And then it's a disease like everything else. We have to get to a point where people can feel safe saying, this is in my house, who can come and help?
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's so important, because the truth is, while you may take the first drink or you may, use drugs or whatever the addiction is, so you don't always know that that's going to happen. Right. And
right.
People who don't have addictions can have a drink, or they can, use something recreationally that maybe they shouldn't, but they're okay after, So I think it's wonderful that you're opening up a dialogue about that,
Joyful, privileged journey. I was stunned at who wrote to me to say, oh my gosh, this is in my life too. I absolutely floored at the people who reached out. And it's a great reminder that there's nobody on the planet who can say, I don't know anyone who's got addiction issues.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. We all have it to some level in our lives.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunately, it's like a lot of things in our lives, right? Like we all know somebody who has cancer, or we are somebody who had it, or we know somebody who died of it or survived it, or whatever the case is. We all know somebody, right? In my case, I have people in my family who, have had the disease, and my gosh, it affects everybody.
Yep.
So. So how can people learn about, follow you and follow the series?
So I'm a pretty consistent, active blogger. Again, extraordinaryextraordinary.com. I'm sorry it's so long. Someone else owned extraordinary.com. And then the alcohol piece really lives under the subheading of Dr. Mary and me. And you'll all wonder why I call him Dr. Mary. There's a whole piece on it in that section. But I'll just spoil it for you. I call him Dr. Mary because I love Jane Austen. So if you're really curious, go find the article. Go find the post about it because it's super cute.
I love that. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he has a PhD. He is a Dr. Mary, but, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, but that's the best way to find us. And then, like I said, we're literally this week, we're in the process of figuring out, all right, what's the next step? And I think it's because that key story that he told me was so simple and so powerful that I realized, God, there's still so much more to not just share with the world, but for the two of us to discover about each other.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's been amazing.
Amazing. How so people can also get in touch with you with extraordinaryextraordinary.com, right?
They can, yeah. Otherwise, I'm just Dayna, Dayna at extraordinaryextraordinary.com.
I love that title. I mean, I know it's long, but it's easy to remember. It's cute. It's fun. It has a double meaning, right?
Yeah.
You could be extraordinary or you can be extraordinary, right? And most of us are both.
You're absolutely both. Wouldn't it be great to just be extraordinary? But that's not how we live.
Right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I think just this, if you or someone you love is having addiction issues, wow, be brave enough to just confront it and get the help that you need. It's not always easy to get someone else to get help. But if you can get through it, life on the other side is truly extraordinary. And I can't stress that enough. The work to get to the other side is so, so worth it. So I hope that if you need to do that work, I hope you find a way to do it. And if I can help you, let me know.
I love that. So extraordinaryextraordinary.com. Yes. Dayna, thank you so much for being here today.
Marie, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yay, this was great. And thank you again to Restream for sponsoring us and for hanging out with us and being a part of this journey. And it was wonderful to talk to you today.
You as well.